Welcome back to season 2 of Four Mics, Four Men. As you can see, we've done some modifications here. We've done a little bit of upgrading, and we just want to continue to pray for additional ideas and thoughts so that we can enhance this program here. We are back with the same 4 guys, the ones that have been traveling along this journey with us.
Yes.
Got Lester, got my dad, and got Gabe here, all family, and I'm looking forward to tonight's topic. You know, we're going to pick up a little bit on loss. Now, we spoke about trauma before, and, you know, we covered some of the losses with that, but one loss that we didn't cover is divorce. So I want to kind of kick it off by sharing some of my thoughts on that, and then we can kind of throw it around for discussion. So when I think about divorce, I think about divorce as a living death because the person is there, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't grieve this person because you're constantly seeing them, especially if you're in the same neighborhood or in the same church or in the same area. So it's like every time that you're going to that church or to that store, if you run into them, then little by little, it's like ripping that off. Like, you know, how would you feel with that?
Well, I mean, for me, I don't know, because I haven't gone through divorce, so I don't know how it relates. So I have to unfortunately go back to when I had when I had a girlfriend in high school, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, you almost act like the person doesn't exist. Yeah. You walk around and you just kind of walk by. You don't talk to them or anything like that, whatever. Because, you know, if you're hurt, you know, you're kind of trying to let them know you didn't hurt me, that type of thing. You're trying to move on. So I can imagine it was difficult, you know. I don't know. I've seen some people that go to the same church where I was like, I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I had to pick up and move on and just do something else. But I know some people that go to the same church and all that type of stuff, but that's just not me. I just couldn't do it. So praise the Lord. I'm not expecting that to happen.
Right. So, Gabe, tell me your experience, man, because I know you haven't been divorced, but you've also been around divorce. Like, how do you think that atmosphere would be?
Well, I mean, it's challenging. Again, I didn't go through divorce, but for me, you know, it was a girlfriend in college. Yeah. And she was a little older than I was. So we broke up when she went to grad school. But I was still left on campus. So for me, you go to student center, you remember. Yeah. You know, you go to the library, you remember. Yeah. You know, you're on campus, you're left on campus, and she's gone. Yeah. So I think those are challenging. Those memories are challenging. You know, you feel that emptiness. And I think that's why, you know, the Bible mentions that God hates divorce. It damages you as a person, and it has an effect on you. You know, you're down, you're kind of depressed, and you almost really have to mourn, go through that mourning process. So I think that's what's challenging about that. You know, my parents went through divorce, and I think it was challenging because it wasn't a very nice divorce. So that makes it challenging. Again, you know, living in that, the person that's left behind in that house, remember the words that were said, how it hurt. So I think it is challenging to go through divorce. It really is a tearing apart of your fabric of who you are.
Yeah. Dad, I know you counsel people.
Yeah, that's right.
I
have counseled people and I have seen that many of the people who are divorced do have you have heard people say, well, this is the anniversary of a death or divorce, and so they tend to at that point call up their friends or so to just to kind of encourage them, you know, and so on, and that's real, because what happens is every time of year when you get to that date, around that date when it occurred, it's like it's happening all over again.
Yeah.
And you have to, you have to find ways of coping and adjusting to that, and it's over time that some of those things kind of become a little less impactful. But as you said, if you have to see the person or even their relatives, because there are some trigger points, there are some anchors too, that when certain words are spoken, it takes you back to what happened, you know, and then this another area is moving from the divorce into another relationship, but that may be, you know,
that's going to be a whole nother segment.
but divorce is the impact is real, and we have to really recognize that and try to reach out to those who have had that experience, so that they can feel that someone cares.
Well, one thing, only because, you know, when y'all were mentioning it, one thing that I think was beneficial for me, and I'm going back to a breakup situation, is that I used the opportunity of remembering the breakup to reinforce my prayer life with the Lord, to reinforce why the breakup happened, to reinforce what character traits I decided that I was going to change about myself, whatever. So for me, it's almost like a re-education on why the relationship didn't work, so that I could become a better person. You know, when it comes to divorce, you know, and I've said this to several people, is, you know, we're all God's property, and through life situations, just like with God with the talents, you know, God's expecting us to be better than what we were before. And so if there's a situation that divorce is required, my goal in getting through it is, how do I become a better person? How do I become a better husband for the next person? You know, and sometimes I get a chip on my shoulder. I says, well, that person's going to lose out because I'm going to be better, you know, so the next person's going to get the new improved Lester, you know, versus the other thing. And so I use that opportunity. So, you know, when I was in college and I broke up with someone during that time, I know that sometimes I stayed awake last night and I prayed about it. I said, Lord, you know, did I make the right choice? Whatever. So that's the communication thing. Sorry, this communication thing that I'm talking about, is that it helped me reinforce my prayer life, because every time I thought about it, I would rethink whatever, and then I would then also, you know, think about the relationship again and say, okay, you know, this is what the person didn't like about me, or this is why, whatever, and then I go back and I said, well, Lester, you said you were going to change that, or the Lord impressed you to change that, and so then I use the opportunity to double down on my training, whatever, and not forget, you know, and kind of say, well, that person is the one with the problem. Let me go on and stay the same and go about my life, whatever. So that helped me through that process. So I didn't see it as grieving anymore. I saw it as an opportunity to re-educate, you know, and again, to go to the Lord sometimes when I was feeling sad or lonely, whatever. I went to the Lord, and that strengthened my bond with the Lord, that when I had other challenges that I had to listen to the Lord, or difficult conversations I needed to have with the person that, you know, I was with, I was that much more comfortable, because I went through, during the divorce or breakup process, I went through and just, you know, worked with the Lord so I could hear His voice better, and so I can, you know, have those difficult conversations and all that type of stuff. So that may help some people.
You said a lot that we'll definitely have to unpack in a few different episodes. You know, full transparency, I've been divorced, and that divorce was, you know, it was a very tough thing for me, because there's different elements that people don't really think about, right? So, number one, you have your friends, right? So your friends start thinking about, well, who do I remain friends with? Do I remain friends with him? Do I remain friends with her? Or is it even possible to maintain a relationship with both? You have that aspect. Then you have, well, how do we interact? I mean, do I just say hi? Do we talk? Do I ask you how you're doing because I know how you're doing? I mean, like, there's that awkward phase of how do I interact with you in a meaningful way to show you I still care, but not be surface. And then you have something that goes even deeper to that, you know, and in my situation, it's, you know, at church, you know, so there's not the, you know, you're going to different churches or you're in different states or you're in different places. No, you're literally going to the same church. So how do you deal with all of the flood of the emotions when you see the individual in church or when you're passing them? Like, how do you regulate that? And I'll tell you this, I think one of the, you know, and from my dad's side, we have this thing in our family where we can flip the switch. So, right, good or bad, you know, we do have a thing where we can flip that switch. And what happened one day, like I went through probably 3 years of depression, just ups and downs, trying to figure out how to deal with this, how to identify who I was post-divorce, because your identity becomes, you know, that person and this person as a couple. Well, you have a good 7-8 years of that being your identity. You've changed in that time period. So even if you try and go back to before you were married, you're still not that same person. So you're struggling to figure out what your identity is. So, you know, through that, it's like I had to continue to, like, there were nights and days and times where I would just be in the shower and crying, just bawling my eyes out. Like, I would literally say to myself, all right, I'm good. I'm good. You know, I may have even been watching TV, been, you know, listening to different music, and I'm like, you know, I'm good. And then I get in the shower and my mind starts going, or I see something that triggers a memory, and then out of nowhere, I would just start bawling. And eventually it got to the point where I was like, I have to accept this. Like, I can't change it. This is the scenario or the situation that I'm in. I have to accept it. If I don't accept it, I can't move beyond it. And through that prayer and through, you know, really dealing with counseling too, because I did, you know, pre-divorce counseling when I found out, and then during divorce counseling, and then post-divorce counseling. And that really helped as well. And, you know, when that switch went off and I flipped it and I accepted it, at that point in time, I literally, the Lord gave me the peace to where I could interact. I could say hi. I could, you know, do these things that would normally rip a Band-Aid off, but it didn't, because I accepted it. And that's you know, I know a lot of people, it takes time for that to happen, and maybe you don't even get there. But, you know, from my experience, the Lord really helped me to get to that acceptance phase.
And that's good, because, you know, there, when you look at the situation about divorce, there, depending on the kind of divorce that occurred, you know, sometimes there is so much animosity, and it becomes such a bitter struggle to be able to get to the point of resolution in terms of the breakaway, you know, and when you look at it emotionally, and you mentioned something to the effect, you are now bonded, so you are one, right. Biblically speaking. You're now one, and so in order to separate yourself again, it's like a tearing apart, and so emotionally, mentally, you're feeling that strain and stress, and not just your personal now, which that's a whole another level which you're describing there, but look at the families that are
Yeah.
involved.
Oh man. Yeah.
The
yeah.
families
yeah.
that are involved and the expectations that
That's right,
were there.
yeah.
And here it is now. You have this dissolution that is facing them, and dependent how bitter it is,
Yeah.
and asset divisions. I mean, and especially if children are involved,
Yeah, yeah.
all those different segments, segments to discuss, because you're getting into, it's like a whole nother life, a different life.
I want you to finish that thought. But as you were saying that, this kind of popped into my mind. As you were talking about division of assets, right? So I know a couple that got divorced, well, a few couples that got a divorce, and they were down to the knife and fork.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, when you're counting how many forks you got versus how many forks I got.
Yeah, yeah.
And if there's one more on your side than my side, then I get up in arms about that, and I want to change the divorce decree or add my conditions into that. Yeah. I mean, that speaks to what you're saying, that level of hurt that's there, because it's hurt that's behind it.
Yes.
Hurt people.
Yes.
Because they don't know how to express it otherwise. It's just like you're the person that hurt me, so I need to show you.
That's right.
How I'm hurting.
Yeah, and Gabe mentioned that while he himself did not, has not divorced or anything like that, but he has experienced it from a different perspective in terms of him being a part of the family that experienced that. And so, Gabe,
that's a good point.
How did it truly impact how did it impact you in terms of, because I think you were even studying at that time, you were in college and so on. How did that impact you, and what kind of situation did you face as a result?
Well, I mean, divorce is challenging for the whole entire family. It really is. That's why, again, the Bible says God hates divorce because of the damage that it does, not only to the people who are getting divorced, but people around them, family, children. Yeah. And, that's why I believe that there should be a time before you get divorced to really almost grieve and to really think deeply before you make that move, because if you are going to make that move, there should be a way where you can do it amicably. I mean, I've seen people get divorced amicably, and they can actually be friends after.
Yeah, that's true.
But if it ends in animosity, then it's really hard. And at the end, they were just hurt. People just hurt each other. And being the child here, or a grown child at this point, adult, I hated seeing my mother being hurt by my dad. It's like, you almost feel like you have to step in now to play that role, and it is challenging, But I think going back to what you guys were saying earlier, I think whether it's a breakup or whether it's a divorce, you need a time to really grieve. It's a loss.
Yeah.
This is a wide subject.
Oh yeah.
And you can take just one portion of it and discuss that.
Yeah.
Because it spreads from you to friends, family, and even in your place of business.
Yeah.
Employment, and so on. So you're looking at a real huge topic.
So one thing I guess I'll say, and this is more preventative, but I'm a realist in certain things. So for example, if I know I'm going to get bad news, I'm like, just give it to me, so I can start
Rip
dealing
it off.
with it. Because I don't like to be. I don't like to think everything's okay and get blindsided by something.
Man.
I prefer just give me the bad news first. Let me deal with it. Let me start thinking about it. Blah blah blah.
Come
type
on
of stuff.
now.
Whatever. And so the comment I'm about to say is more in that vein. I learned this, but Dr. Trusty, we went to a thing that my wife had for couples years back, and he made a statement. He made the statement perfectly. He said, whoever loves least has the power.
Mercy.
That's what he said. He said, whoever loves least has the power. You know, so in other words, so he's explaining, you know, if two people get together, get married, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever, but one is really more infatuated or connected than the other, then the one that loves least, they're pretty much in a relationship. I can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
You know, and so the person that loves the most is running around trying to figure out how to please the person because they don't want to lose. Exactly, that type of thing. Yeah. So in that vein, now I'm switching back to divorce. For me, I would want to acknowledge if I know that I love the most, I have to accept it's going to be painful for me.
Yeah.
And so more painful than the other person.
Yeah.
So therefore, when I'm having an argument with them about X, Y, Z, whatever, I'm not thinking about fairness. You know, when you were talking about pots and pans, because the funny thing is the judge with my parents' divorce, he said the same thing too. He said, I will not be judging against pots and pans. You know, that type of thing. But that's what they were arguing about, pots and pans. But in a situation like that, you know, if one loves more than the other, then you're going to get a situation where the person wants to give all, and while the divorce process is happening, they're thinking, I'm giving because they love more. I'm giving. And the other person, because they love least, they're taking. I'm gonna do it because I want to do it. You know, that type of thing. And then when you reach that limit, when you say, I've done all this stuff, and you're gonna argue about a fork, then they're gonna put their foot down. And we argued about this fork. You know, that type of thing.
That's a good point.
And so for me, understanding, hopefully, you don't get in a relationship where you're the person that loves the least. And going back to what you said, biblical, I have a hard time saying love, whatever, because I don't believe in that. But I know it's an actuality that happens. And so with understanding that, I just tell myself, okay, Lester, unfortunately, you pick someone that you're willing to give more than that other person. And so in this breakup, you need to understand everything's going to hurt you twice as hard as that other person. So now deal with it. When you have an argument, remember, they can take it or leave it. They can go out their business. You know, and it may not mean to hurt you, but it's because they're less vested, whatever. And so because of that, that's another reason for me to go to God and say, God, I need you to help me work through this thing because, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot, but
go ahead.
You know when you were dating someone and you broke up, and the person would call you and say, I didn't remember the English assignment, whatever.
Oh, man.
But they broke up with you, right? But you've attached, they called me. There's a chance, and all that type of stuff. When they're just like, I know this person will give me the answer, so you just call them, whatever. So they can care less, whatever. So you hold on to things a lot more during that divorce process. You hold on to things a lot more, and everything means twice as much to you than the other person. And understanding that, I think, will help you deal with it to say, okay, I got to translate this. Even though they're saying this, I've heard something else, not because they mean to say something else, but because I'm more invested. I need to deal with it differently, blah, 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 whatever the case may be. And that may help of understanding or evaluating the relationship to understand who loves more, who loves least, and then saying, okay, because of that, I know that the discussions we're gonna have it at two different levels, and then I need to deal with it, based on.
So it's interesting you say that because a pastor told my mom, something similar. He said, "You can't love somebody enough for the both of you."
Yes, that's true. Yes.
I can love you to death, but if you don't love me back,
that's true.
Yeah.
So that's more for anything, It has to be a two-way street. We say that all the time, a two-way street. But always you feel that if you love more, they'll love you more.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
That's the case. It's a choice. Love is a choice.
Yes.
As we talk about, it's not a feeling, it's a choice. Yes. I choose to love you. I choose to deal with whatever mess you've got. I choose that. It's not I don't fall in love. It's I choose. And the thing is, that's the thing that you have to go through, and then realize at the end, this person no longer chose to love me.
It was a choice.
And I think the hard part is to start thinking with your mind, not necessarily
Yes,
your
yes,
heart.
correct.
I think your heart wants.
Yeah.
Yes.
But sometimes you have to have, and that's why you need good counsel.
Yeah.
Some good friends,
Yeah.
pastor, somebody say, listen, I see what you're thinking. I see how you're thinking now. But you need some wise counsel to say, look, you can't force love.
Yes, that's correct.
You know, God is the master of love. One thing is that He created all of us to have choice.
Choice, that's right.
So you need to realize that as you're going through divorce, you know, this person's made their choice.
Yeah.
And really rely on God and say, God, okay, you know what? I think the most you can do is do your part.
Yes.
You know, try to be that loving person as you're going through this. But in the end, you know what? God, you know what's best.
Yes, yeah.
And therefore are able to let go.
Yes.
And not drive yourself,
Yeah, crazy.
Man.
crazy in a dark place.
I know you want to.
All right, come on now.
But let me just say that.
Yeah.
You know, people sometimes in that relationship that we're discussing, there has to be a recognition of contributoriness to the situation.
Yes.
If all one party can say is it's his fault or it's her fault, and that's all, and everything that revolves around the blame game, then there will never be an acknowledgement that you are a part of this, and that even looking forward to another relationship, if you don't fix this,
yes, exactly.
if you don't fix this, the same thing will reoccur, because you have to be introspective with this thing, and if you're introspective, then it's easier for you to see the other person and see the other person's situation. But if you're just protecting all the time, it's if he didn't do this, or if she didn't do this, then I wouldn't do this. We wouldn't get to and all that. Then there is no way you're going to be able to come to the point where you say, well, you know, maybe I need to address the issues in myself.
Yeah. And now I know we covered a lot tonight. So, you know, again, we're going to be touching on a lot of the things that, you know, in separate segments that we spoke about here tonight. Because, you know, we can't do it justice by mentioning the surface things of it. Yes, you need friends. Yes, you know, these are the areas that are impacted. But what I want to do is share actual scenarios that I've experienced going through this, just finding out, pre-divorce, and then going through the actual divorce, and then post-divorce. And, you know, we'll break those down into various segments, and we'll talk about some of the things that you mentioned about the emotional side of things, the fighting over the pots and pans from that perspective, because you're right. The offended heart goes hard. You know, and then also from the older perspective, where the divorce happened when you were much older in college, and then how you related to each parent and how you tried to fill that role, you know, in essence, because there was an absent figure there. So we're going to touch on all of those things, you know, but the last thing that I'll say in ending this episode is the thing that really helped me too is what you said, having a support system. So unfortunately, my friend, one of my good friends, he went through the divorce before I did. And so he turned around and told me, hey, this is what you can expect. You know, it'll hit you differently, it'll hit you hard, but it'll come in waves. So ride the wave out. I'm here, I can help you. And that could not have been closer to the truth than ever. I thought I was good, and then I'd hit a wave, and then I'd go down and dip. And you know, that's just the process of healing. You know, so we're going to cover a lot more of those things, but, you know, tonight's episode was really good because this is the beginning of tearing off that Band-Aid to talk about you know, what we really don't talk about. Divorce.
Yeah.
We don't talk about divorce. We don't talk about the impacts of divorce. We don't even like acknowledging that a divorce exists.
Yeah.
You know, in some circles.
Yeah.
You know, so but the goal again is to bring healing to those who may be facing this, going through it, gone through it, or will go through it, or in the process of it. So I want to thank all of you again for your inputs, and I look forward to more discussions on this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think this is going to be a great season in talking about it.
I like the new location.
Yeah.
we're not on computers.
Yes,
looking away and stuff. So that's good. Yes, we're happy to be here.
Yeah, it definitely feels a lot more natural with us turning and talking and having to have that conversation. All right, until next episode, thank you all again, and we'll see you later.